about Bear Grylls now. You've been everywhere, everywhere, and it's lovely to have you here, but it is kind of nice to have you at all, because all your stories, because they prepared biogs, all Bear's stories are, and if I'd been there a minute later or a minute earlier, or if it had been 2 inches to the left, my head would have been cut off. I mean, near-death experiences, you have a lot of them.
Well, the truth is, people always have this expectation that you know, if I have a scar, it's something, it's definitely... I mean, I had to do a thing last year where I was doing a commercial in America and I had to take my shirt off, and this female director, so I had this scar straight across here. She went, oh, gosh, was it a crocodile? And I thought... So the truth was, it was I was taking the pizza out of the oven without my shirt on. It went, I went, ah! And I had one of those moments of, do I tell her? She's going to be so disappointed. And I could see myself go from hero to zero in her eyes in about 5 swift seconds. So it's not always like that, and home can be dangerous as well.
But I think what's extraordinary about it is, we won't cry, but what's extraordinary is the luck of the man. So, at one stage, you were bitten by loads of bees, weren't you? Stung by lots of bees.
Yes, that was an occasion. Yeah. I ended up looking like the Elephant Man. In fact...
Can I just say, no, you didn't, right? This is the luck of the man.
Yeah.
Right, see a nice bear there,
yeah.
gets stung all over by bees,
yeah.
Turned him into Keanu Reeves.
Wow.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
I'm surprised you're alive. You're like a cat.
Thank you.
Jerry Butler, now, what did you fell off your motorbike? You were driven off your motorbike? You were crashed? What happened?
I fell off a motorbike. I do not fall off motorbikes here. No, it was actually about two weeks ago now, but I was in LA and I was on my bike, and this woman went from a parked position to basically try and do a U-turn, and I went right into her, and I didn't really have much time to slow... Yeah, thank you for the...
Yeah, sorry, I was just imagining it.
Yeah.
It's like London has fallen.
Pretty much. London has fallen. Yeah. And I went about... Because there was a bunch of people just happened to be there. They were in a staff meeting looking out and people unloading a truck. So apparently I went about 30 feet through the air, did a somersault and smacked down. And I jumped right up because I'm like, remember who you are, you got to keep it together. And the second I jumped, I went, oh, and I knew I'd done something. I actually fractured 5 bones in my right foot and did in both my knees. But I pulled the helmet off and it's like, oh, it's him. and then this guy takes me over and goes, he banged your head, and he sits me down and he's rubbing my head. He goes, OK, what's your name? I went, it's Jerry Butler. And this guy behind him's like, I knew it, I told you. What day is it? I didn't know what day it was before the crash. But anyway, it's been a bit of an inopportune time because I've been filming a bunch and on this press tour, so like going from crutches on to talk shows and. Like,
but you look incredibly well for a man who fell off a motorbike.
I'm an animal. That's right.
Yes, it's an animal.
When did you do that? How long ago did you do that?
It's about 12 days ago.
That's impossible.
Yeah.
And you're broke. You say you're broke.
5 fractures
and your
then 2
knuckles all
micro
shredded
fractures,
as well.
Torn meniscus,
God.
sprained MCL, is it? And then I've also this got burned right through the bone. Actually, it was pretty hefty. It wasn't.
I split a nail playing squash the other day.
You were in a car crash. Actually. I don't know about you had a car crash as well, huh?
I had a car. Yeah, I did actually have a car crash about 4 or 5 years ago.
Did you?
Yeah. It was awful. It was like a proper near-death experience. But the worst thing was you learn so much about yourself, because, I mean, I literally cheated death. And I remember that my DVD was out that week, and I thought, if I had died, I would have shifted so many more copies of
Because you weren't sure, and then we saw that is definitely Daisy Ridley in that river.
Feeling like I might die.
Wow.
Do you know what? I was thinking about this last night. I thought there were 2 times, right, I thought I might die in water. One was there, and one was in a theme park in Prague. Because, you know, when... the theme park one was when I was going down these rapids.
Oh,
and
they're
I
evil, aren't
prayed.
they?
I'm not religious, but I prayed.
I nearly died at Centre Park.
Yeah, so you know when the water's risky business, Centre Parks. You know when the water's very fast, so you think you're inhaling air, but it's water, and you go, oh my God, I did that. There, and I did it in Prague. It was quite scary because also David's the nicest man in the world, but he was scary. Like, it was quite scary.
Mate, that looks petrifying.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I want to get on to your near-death experience at Centre Parks. What happened?
No, it's the rapids. I mean, you know, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Somebody accidentally, you know, elbows you because there's 95 people going down it at the same time.
Exactly.
This is obviously before COVID. And, you know, it was not as traumatic as what that looked like. I mean, you know, I'm being dramatic, I'm an actor. But it was...
I mean, me too.
Yeah.
There's going to be a headline in the Daily Mail tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I
Speaking
know.
of near-death experience at Centre Parks.
Oh, damn it.
Tell me this, in the play, are there any older actors?
Well, I mean, what do you mean, older actors?
Like
There's
really-
actors that are older than me.
Yeah. No, it's just because... Ethan Hawke, you've had an extraordinary experience working with an older actor.
I wondered if that's where you were going.
Was this on Broadway?
I was on Broadway once, yes, and I was doing a scene...
This is unbelievable. Go.
I was doing a scene with the great Richard Easton, a Canadian actor who actually was in the RSC for 25 years. And we were doing a scene where he's playing my father, and I have to ask him for money, and he would get very angry and shout at me. And he would shout and shout and shout and shout. And one day we're doing it, and he was getting particularly mad and particularly heated. And he had a heart attack and fell down on center stage. And the audience, unlike you, thought it was absolutely hysterically funny. Yeah, you know, I mean, he really hit he hit like a watermelon hit,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I was absolutely terrified because I'd done many plays with him, and I knew something was terribly wrong.
Oh, my God.
And so it turns out he died. Now, yes, but
Hang on.
Just slipped off the tongue.
No, there was a guy who did props on the show who was really good at CPR, and he came out and he started working on it and doing CPR and blowing, and we had to say, is there a doctor in the house? And somebody came out, and the show stopped, and we called the ambulance, and the guys came, and they started his heart again. With the, 11 minutes later or something, they had the... Yeah.
11 minutes later?
Center stage, Broadway.
Did the audience leave the theatre?
No, nobody left. You know, they...
Oh,
but
my God,
it
that's
was
so intense.
Let me tell you, it was incredibly intense, all right?
Yes.
And, we were all backstage praying. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
And did he come back to the play?
Well, it was great. Yes, he did. And not that night.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Excuse me.
He went to the hospital, clearly. The show did not go on. The show stopped. And a couple days later, I got a call, because we were friends, and he wanted me to come. I came to his hospital room, and he ran lines with me, because he wanted me to go back to the cast and the crew and everybody and show that he didn't have brain damage, and he remembered all his lines, and that his understudy better cool his jets, because he was coming back. And it was beautiful. And then he did come back. It's one of the best shows of my life was when he came back.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it must have been quite nerve-wracking in that scene every night. Kind of like...
Incredibly nerve-wracking. I kept thinking, don't get so angry.
That's a lot of drama right there. Yeah.
That is a lot of drama right there.
So
Yeah.
that might happen to you.
Maybe.
Well, the guy you're torturing, it might go wrong.
Sure.
There's the cat
He's
action.
hanging upside down by his ankles, so I mean...
Because you've done loads of stage, but presumably nothing that...
Oh, my Lord, no, nothing like that. No way.
This is a crazy story. So you play a detective in...
Yeah.
But in real life, you've had a run-in with criminality. Tell us the story.
I love how British people say it. What?
A run-in.
Criminality?
With criminality. Criminals. If I say you were in a dim sum restaurant, do you know where we're going?
Yeah.
Okay, take it away, Divine Joy Randolph.
So I was vegan at that time, and I say this because I feel like that was the bad karma. I was vegan.
It's veganuary!
I was vegan, and my best friend was like, let's go get dim sum. And I was like, that's all pork and shrimp and chicken. I can't eat that. She's like, it's amazing. We have to go. And I was like, okay. So we go. We're having amazing dim sum brunch. And my back it's crazy when you have near-death experience, the details. You remember everything. My back was to the door, and I hear like all this like kerfuffle, and I see like people rushing in. So my brain's like, is this a flash mob? But this is like...
So show business. So show business. Yeah. No, probably a flash mob.
Of course. Well, because, like, why is everyone rushing in? But I was like, that's like, it's not on trend anymore. They haven't done that in a long time. And I turned back around, because I was like, is this a flash mob? I turned back around, my best friend's gone. And I'm like, that's weird. And so, literally, so then people start screaming. So then my brain is like, something's going on. So I'm seeing people like trying to flee out of the exit. There's a kitchen with like barnyard doors, swinging doors. Yeah. So that was the closest thing to me. And so I go into the kitchen, and it's dim sum. They also sell sushi. So in my brain, I'm like, they got knives, good ones. And so I come in, and there's like 2 waitresses on this side, and there's like a guy on that side. And like I go to one side, and I collect the knives. I don't know why. Multiples, and I Wolverined it. And I'm doing like these yoga breaths of fire. And I'm like, this is it. I don't know what I'm preparing for, but this is it. And so then I'm hearing like screams, and this lady's like, not my baby. And I was like, oh my God. And then this guy comes in, and I'm like, is he a threat or are we cool? And he leans over to me and he's like, don't worry, I'm in the Marines. And I was like, oh, we're good. But basically what it was a smash and grab. So I didn't know you guys have Westfields. We have Westfields in California. And I got very excited when I came out the car today. And I said, is that like my Westfield, mall Westfield? So it was at a Westfield. And so basically, there was a jewelry store like just outside of the mall. There was a smash and grab, but apparently that jeweler had a private detective so they can carry arms. So they had a little surprise for them. And so it like escalated way too crazy. And so they were running through the mall with the bounty and guns, and they chose to run through because, like, you know, the malls where the restaurants are connected. Yes. They were running through the mall just escape, but all that happened. And you just don't know, you're just hearing crazy things. Yeah. So I was like, this is it.
We need Divine in an emergency. That's what we need. That is impressive. Yeah. If you see her in Westfield tomorrow, run. And my guest is broken. What's wrong with you?
Graham.
I'm not a doctor. I mean, I'm not going to do anything about it.
Well, you know how Tom Cruise did that thing this year when he, like, leapt across buildings?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I was on set of quite a hardcore stunty film about 2 people in an air balloon, and they had this crash mat beneath the air balloon in case you fall out.
Yes.
And hurt yourself. And I walked on the crash mat. And I fell.
Or at least you fell. You did fall back. It wasn't a walking injury.
Yeah, and so it's basically, I think it's a really bad, it's basically a sprained ankle, but they gave me this Robocop thing, and I don't know what the hell. But there we go. They told me I had to wear it.
Okay.
And I'm being obedient.
That's a celebrity sprained ankle. You want to do like a frozen bag of peas, don't you?
I've had that.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, I would say you don't sound like the easiest of children. You recently tweeted some letters. These are genius. These are letters you wrote to your parents from summer camp.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one's kind of a form letter. So it's hi from camp, dear mum and dad, how are you? In hell. Okay. Yesterday, I realised that my tent was full of morons.
Oh, my God.
Today, these really annoying kids are bugging me.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, excruciating, boring class begins. I can't wait to go home. Please send me some Mad magazine, something like that. Love, Lin Miranda. P.S. The kids are okay if you get used to them. Now, this next one is all his own work. This contains drawings and all sorts. It's on Garfield paper. You should know he's taking it seriously.
Yes.
Dear family, hi, remember me? I'm the kid you ditched in the woods for a month. You know how we hardly ever go to Mass? Well, I go every Sunday. Here's a picture to remind you of me. And it's you jumping off a building. I didn't like that. But then the weird thing is, you did get out of camp.
I did. It was the performance of my life. I'm not proud of it as an adult, and if my kids ever ask about it, I'll deny it. But I faked a spinal injury.
Oh, my goodness.
To get out of camp. There was a kid who hurt his back and got to go home, and I went, huh. And then the next day, I was alone with a friend of mine. I threw myself on the floor. I pretended I couldn't feel my legs. And I was rushed to the hospital. And I had to keep up this performance all summer. And I had a fake limp. And I had x-rays at Bellevue Hospital in New York City. But I went home. I got to go home.
Yeah. Talking Talking of faking things, Emily, you have a story about your dad, John Mortimer, who wrote Rumple of the Bailey and stuff. Didn't your dad come to visit you in Russia?
Oh, yeah, yes, he came. Yes, he came to visit me in Russia, where I was on a year, but gap year between school and university, and I made him take me to the most expensive restaurant in Moscow, which was at the top of the Metropole Hotel, I think it was called, because I hadn't been eating very well on this. Anyway, we went and he was being so sort of generous and so happy to see me, and he ordered caviar, and I was just, it was so great. We had champagne and caviar, but without looking at the menus, and then they brought us the menus, and one order of caviar was something like £250 or whatever the equivalent was, and we both felt absolutely sick. And my dad said, "We have to get out of here." And I said, "I know." And he said, "I'm going to fake a heart attack." And I said, "Oh, that's a great idea." And he started sort of clutching his heart. And I had to tend to him and rush him out of there, and it was brilliant. And we didn't pay.
Yay! Here's the thing. So we know it's your life story, but what's the arc? How much of your life do we see? Just tell people what happens.
2 hours worth.
2 hours of your life in real time.
Actually, you know, I think people are going to be surprised. The main thing that I get from everyone that sees the show is they expect to go in and see the dancing, the singing, you know, conga, rhythm is going to get you, which it will, by the way.
That rhythm will get you. Yeah.
I think they're surprised because we take them on an emotional journey. You know, they really do see the ups and downs. And when I was going to do the show, the writer, Alex Dinelaris, who won an Oscar for Birdman, thank God we hired him before because we couldn't have afforded him afterwards, he told me, "You and your husband are a nightmare to write for." I go, "Why?" He goes, "There's no conflict." I go, "Let me introduce you to my mother." And, oh, you identify there, do you?
No. She said that, Mom. I did not. Love you.
So I told my mom, I go, "Mom, we're going to tell the truth, you know, because there were some things that happened there. She really was not too happy with my husband when we got together because he wasn't a doctor or a lawyer, and he was a businessman and a musician. She thought he was going to take me away and you know, break my heart or whatever. So she really tortured him for only about 12 years of our married life. And then after the accident, when she saw that he was so incredible, she thought he'd leave me for sure or something. She realized who he really is. And so you see little bits in us fighting to get the...
Yeah, because this was the bus crash where you nearly lost your life. But
yes.
So out of that, your husband and your mother did come together.
They did. I mean, he was always very respectful and lovely with her, but she wasn't having it. And then one day in the hospital when she came to see me. And by the way, she hadn't spoken to me for 2 years before that bus crash because I took my sister on the road with us. And she got upset that I had, you know, taken my sister as well. So she was a teacher, and she was in the teacher's lounge. She was the union rep and had just finished a meeting. And on the little ticker that scrolls, she sees Gloria Estefan dead in bus crash. So, like, she collapsed on the floor, and then a friend of hers said, no, that's a mistake. You know, she's alive, she's very injured, but she's okay. So she flew to Scranton, where I still was, and then later went to New York. And in the hospital, Emilia was trying to be so strong and everything, but one day she was looking for some door, and she opened the door to a closet, and he was on the floor sobbing on his knees, like in tears. And I think that it melted her heart, and you know, she realized that he really did love me, that it wasn't just, you know, for show. So there's a lot of really difficult things. My father, who was a political prisoner in Cuba for 2 years, and then joined the U.S. Army and got very ill from Agent Orange poisoning. So we take you on an emotional ride as well as the fun.
Frank Gardner, you bring us an extraordinary film about your life, Being Frank. Now, this is going to be going out on BBC Two next Thursday, 5th of November at 9 p.m. And this is essentially about your life and how it changed in 2004. You were filming in Riyadh. How much of that day do you remember, or is it all recalled by looking at footage and things?
Sadly, I remember all of it. I mean, for kind of new readers start here, we were filming in Saudi Arabia, the aftermath of a terrorist attack, and we got ambushed by Al-Qaeda. It was just bad luck, wrong place, wrong time. And they pulled up in 2 vans, saw us, and their commander kind of divvied it up. He issued a quick set of orders, said, right, you take out the cameraman, you take out the reporter, and they cornered us. And I had this lovely, wonderful Irish cameraman, Simon Cumbers, from County Navan, a wonderful guy. He had 1 bullet and didn't survive, and I was shot 6 times at close range, and I was incredibly lucky to survive. They stood over me and pumped bullets into me, and I don't advise getting shot. It really hurts. It kind of messes up your whole day, actually, and so...
Yeah.
But some of the bullets kind of... One went through the shoulder, one went through the leg, kind of in and out and in, but the ones that did the damage were in the core of the body. So, net result, I have to use a wheelchair because I can't walk or stand or dance, which is a huge relief to my family.
I found one of the most moving things was the footage of you just walking around before it happened. And as a viewer, you know what's coming.
And I hadn't seen that footage before.
So how hard is that to watch?
It's pretty weird because, you know, I mean, it's almost kind of like a watershed, you know, 2/3 of my life walking around, getting up, just, you know, doing what I want. And then the rest of the life, you can't. It's very odd, but, you know, you roll with it. So, yeah, it was strange seeing that, and I think, gosh, I remember that. And, of course, it's almost like watching a movie where you think, get out now before they come, move, get out. You've only got seconds left. You know, it's almost like I'm sort of shouting that to myself, but it's too late by then. The script's already written. Yeah. And, you know, the one takeaway from all of this is just pour it all out, get it out there. As soon as the bullet wound in my shoulder had healed enough for me to use a laptop, I wrote down everything I remember from the attack, which is everything. I looked into the eyes of the guy pointing a pistol at me, and when I was in hospital, a friend of mine brought me that movie Collateral that's got Tom Cruise in it, and he's in a back street and he whips out about a pistol and he's shooting people, and you can hear the bang followed by the tinkle of the little brass cartridge case. And I thought, oh, my God, I remember that. This is a mate who brought me this film, by the way.
Yeah.
So I just rewound it several times.
This will take your mind off it.
Yeah, nice.
A lot of people getting shot, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Yeah. But I kind of replayed it many times to inoculate myself so as I wouldn't jump every time I heard a bang.
Yeah. So you've got the horrific injuries, then you get the amazing care. How long was it before you attempted to go back to work?
I was in hospital for 7 months with 14 surgical operations, and that exhausts you. I mean, the NHS were fantastic. I mean, you know, they haven't just excelled themselves this year, they're always good, and they were brilliant with me. I had really, really good care.
Yeah.
The first hospital in Saudi didn't know what they were doing. They were trying to patch up the bullet wound in my shoulder. I was never going to die of that. I was actually bleeding to death from the core of the body. I had about 2 hours left at that stage, but I was rescued by this very good surgeon. And I came back and I was absolutely exhausted for about a year. But my wife at the time said, should we go off and do something different, go and live in Australia, study butterflies? And I said, no, I want to go back to my news job because it's really interesting. And 16 years on, I'm still doing the job.
But it was your love of sport, Michael, that took you away from acting and movies. And this is racing cars.
Yeah.
Is it 4 years you've been away?
Yeah, I think the last film was 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, I was racing.
Yeah.
And so the beginning of April the season starts and the end of October, so I can't get insured.
So it's not Formula One?
No, definitely not, yeah.
So is it Formula something? Is it some...
There's no formula. It's basically what I do is endurance racing, so GT cars. So a car that might look like something that you could buy on, you know, any sort of dealership. But they're beefed up. They're like, you know, for the racetrack.
Well, how did you find the car? How did you find someone to...
Well, I always
give
had...
you the car to try it out in?
Well, yeah, that was kind of fortunate because I thought, you know, I'm going to step away from acting at around 40 and I'll start racing, but I thought it would be in karts, go-karts. Okay. You know, you get really fast go-karts. And then I got in touch with Porsche through Patrick Dempsey. I met him on a flight from LA to London.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah. There we are.
And you drive with Porsche all the time now?
Yes,
and
this is the last season. I'm finished now.
Oh, OK. Because Porsche have done this thing. They make kind of a YouTube series kind of following you and your thing. So we've got a clip, and I hope this isn't upsetting, but it's...
No, I know what it's going to be. Yeah, it's one of the many accidents I've had.
It is a crash, but it makes you think you're not messing around here. Like, this is
No, they go, you know,
What's
we
your
get up
top
to some...
speed, then?
In Le Mans, when you sort of run like a low downforce package, which means that the car is not like squashed to the ground as much, you know, sort of for corners that helps. But there's a lot of straights in Le Mans, so you want to take away that and get the top speed close to 300 kilometers an hour.
Oh, kilometres.
Kilometres.
Oh, kilometres.
Oh, kilometre, yeah, yeah.
I could run that.
Right, so this...
Me too.
So this is Michael, and it's the best of times and it's the worst of times, because it starts with you overtaking someone. Here we go. And you just walked away.
Yeah, yeah.
You just walked away from that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the science is incredible.
You look quite packed in there. You look like you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. You're strapped in pretty tightly, precisely for that sort of scenario.
Yeah.
But the cars are amazing. You know, the science of how far they've come now.
But is it like a kind of a drug? Are you you're addicted to this stuff?
Yeah, yeah, super addictive. I mean, it's not the speed necessarily, because everything is kind of doesn't see... I mean, at the beginning, yes, it feels fast when you get in the car, then then it seems like things are kind of moving, like, slowly until you crash. Then things speed up.
Wow.
But everyone's kind of going the same speed.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, it's just nice to get into a place where you're just not thinking.
Yeah. Because who nearly died at Glastonbury?
This one.
Why did you nearly die at Glastonbury?
I'm diabetic, and I was so excited to play Glastonbury that I took a shot of insulin and then got whisked away to the stage and forgot to eat. And so I got on stage and I was like jamming it out, as you do. And 4 songs in, I think I said to the audience even like, "This is the best moment I'm ever going to have in my life." And then just took one step off stage and just passed out.
Wow.
Mid-set.
But didn't die.
And I didn't die because my manager, who's a savior, has fudge in his pocket, like frosting. And he literally put it on his fingers and put it in my mouth.
Again. But in terms of like putting yourself in danger, putting yourself out there, you started like ridiculously young. How young were you when you started doing stunts?
Well, I used to do crazy things. Like I would, you know, my poor mother, I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. I'd climb to the top of trees and kind of hang off as the wind is going. And then I remember years later, I saw, you know, Evel Knievel, you know, jumping off the canyon. And so there was this very steep hill in one of the neighborhoods we were living in, and I kind of took boards from this neighborhood kind of, I don't know, construction site, you know, and lined up all these cans. And of course, my sisters at this time, I'd been to the hospital a few times, broken some bones, and they're like, no, don't do this. You know, you're gonna get in trouble. We don't want to take you to the hospital again. And so I said, no, it's gonna work, it's gonna work. I was about 8 years old at this point. And so I took my bike to the top of the hill. And I started halfway down. I realized when I got halfway down, it was one of those chains, you know, the pedals start going and it doesn't slow, so it was going really fast. And I couldn't stop it. It was too late to bail. And I had my sister and her friends were down there and some kids around the neighborhood. So I was like, oh, this, you know, it's like halfway through it, you're going, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. And then you're approaching the thing, you're going, no, this really wasn't a good idea, but I'm committed. And I thought, I'm gonna go so far and so high. So I went up this beam thing and ended up, of course, the board split. The board split, and I ended up going
you were trying to do a jump.
Yeah, I was going to jump over. The board was like this and stacked up trash cans almost to like half a story.
Right.
And I went through it, and I ended up just pile driving through the trash cans. I mean, it was violent. I was laying on the other side. Of course, there's blood everywhere, and I'm just laying there. And I just never forget my sister standing over me. No sympathy. It's like, not like, oh, my God, Tom. They just looked at me and said, we told you. You are in so much trouble right now. You know?